Welcome to the Mom and podcast. We're your hosts, Suzanne Kearns
and Missy Stevens. We want to help you through everything that happens in the ellipses, from your professional life to your emotional health.
You're a mom and so much more. Let's figure out what comes next together. Welcome to the Mom and podcast. I'm Suzanne Kearns, a mom and LGBTQ ally, writer, and this week, a real grown-up furniture owner. After 15 months, no more mattress on the floor. I mean, when did we move into this house? Last July.
During the pandemic, yeah.
I've learned my lesson about getting rid of furniture too quickly during a move.
Well, and when you order new things during a pandemic, when everything is stuck on cargo ships, and it just takes extra time.
So excited.
Well, and I'm Missy Stevens, mom and writer, foster care advocate, and this week, girls' weekend getaway trip planner for the first time since I think my last girls' weekend was February 2020.
So jealous.
Very excited. And speaking of excited, we are beyond thrilled for today's guest. She lives up to her brand as a supermom. Lori Oberbroeckling is author of Secrets of a Supermom: How Extraordinary Moms Succeed at Work and Home, and How You Can Too.
And I'm holding the book up here for our YouTube viewers.
She is a wife and a mom to 4 tiny humans, all while working as a corporate executive and nurturing several side hustles. She helps moms who want it all develop the skills, habits, and confidence to happily have it all. I mean, skills, habits, and confidence. It's like, should be the tagline of our podcast. That's what we're going for here. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So excited to have you here. And now, before we get into the details of the book and all the exciting information that you have in there, would love to hear a little bit more about you and your background and all those side hustles, and maybe a little bit about your family, whatever you want to share.
Sure, absolutely. So as you said, I am a wife. I have 4 kiddos. My oldest just turned 12 and my youngest is 5. So there's about 6.5 years between the 4 of them. So went from no kids to a whole lot of kids really fast, right? To all the kids. And yeah, I have been in corporate America for a long time now, 17 years, I think, in corporate America, and work in pharmaceutical research. And it is incredibly challenging, incredibly great, but I also really missed creativity. I missed creativity in a lot of the things that I loved to do. And so on the side, I would do things like scrapbook, and I would do things like take pictures, and I would do crafts, and I would make parties, and I would do all of these other fun things. And so I decided in 2017 that I would start a photography business on the side. So I photograph families and newborns and just kind of do this on the side of my, my normal day job. And then in 2020, when everything went berserko, I was listening to moms, and they were struggling, right? We know families struggled a lot, but moms struggled arguably the most. And so I had been thinking about writing a book. I didn't know what it would be on. And I feel like this is it. I feel like I can write a book that will help moms and really show them that with some skills and habits and things in place, they can make not perfect lives, but they can sure make things easier. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I wrote the book. I wrote it in 34 days and cranked it out. And here we are. So now
Suzanne and I are both like,
February. I know. It's craziness.
I have a book proposal that I've been working on for 4 years now, Missy?
That's about the same amount of time. I've had a draft sitting in my drawer that needs to be reworked. Yeah.
34 days. Okay, so that's gonna be my new NaNoWriMo. I'm gonna just knock a book out in November.
I mean, it can be done, but we kind of need those skills, habits, and maybe the confidence.
So where did you get all this great information from? So we typically interview coaches, people who are like, that is their trade, either career or life coaching. But I got to say, what I was hesitant when I was reading the book, because I was like, maybe more for a tipsy ellipses, because we do moms that aren't coaches interviews that are still doing really cool things in our tipsy ellipses. But I got to say, a lot of the tips and strategies in here, I mean, it's stuff that we hear a lot of the coaches say. And I think something that falls into the realm of like really actionable and really valuable stuff. So is this just from your own reading, your own research? Like where were you pulling a lot of this from?
Yeah, a combination. So I actually started my career in counseling and marriage and family therapy. That's where I started out before
There
I
you
moved
go.
into research. So
Okay.
now we're talking like almost 20 years ago. So we're talking about a long time ago.
But a
But
nice foundation.
yes, and none of that has really left me. I've
Mhm.
always,
Yeah.
all of the things that were very important at the time are still very important now. They're all important for humans to live well,
Yeah.
right? To live life well. And so none of that really ever escaped me. And so I continued to talk about it, continued to train on it, continued to practice it, right, on my own self. And then also on the other side is, so I had these skills that I had built and had continued to learn about, but I also interviewed and surveyed about almost 200 moms in creating the book. So before I wrote it, I did this survey and then, reached out to a number of them and talked to them and said, what are you doing? What's working? What's not working? What is really tripping you up all the time? What is your number one win, right? What is the thing that you always do and that always works for you? And so getting all of that feedback allowed me to pull all that together, my past education, my knowledge, and then all these moms saying, this is what's working and this what is not really not working, and put it together in the book for the 16 secrets that are in there.
I'm just so curious because I mean, your profession is in research now. So obviously you have, so did you pull from that to do this research, or did you work with an outside group to research?
Nope, just did it all on my own. So my industry is totally separate from that. So just really on my own, reached out and said, hey, there's some moms I know, I'd love to survey you. And then as I started to do that, I went, oh, wow, I'm getting incredible. So my goal was not 200. My goal was just get a little survey done. Yes. And so then I thought, wow, I'm getting really valuable information. Do you know some moms? Could you share this? Right. And then we just shared it, and we got a lot of feedback. So it's great.
Yeah, that's what we just heard from Lisa Stromberg from Work, Pause, Thrive. She was our last episode. I'm trying to remember.
Episode before our 40th.
Before our 40th. But she said, eventually her publisher was just like, okay, you got to write the book. But there were so many people who wanted to share their experience and fill out the survey and have their experiences be heard. So
we just love to do that, right? We love to be able to answer surveys. We love to do quizzes and those sorts of things. We just want to share. We want to be able to and talk about things we don't always get to talk about. Right? Moms are doing all the things. They don't get to talk about how they're doing all the things as often.
Exactly.
Right. I think it says a lot about that missing piece for moms for so long, that I think people like you and like we are trying to make that change, that we have a lot to say, whether it's currently really valuable stuff or if it's things we need to see change. We have a lot to say about that. And so it's a great service you offered to just let people talk about it and then compile it in a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of the book, was there a piece of it that you were struggling with? Was there anything in your 16 tips that you thought, well, I'm not doing this well, and whether the book helped you figure it out or you're still working on? Is there something that's still kind of a struggle?
Yeah. So there's 3 parts. The very first part are the key secrets, right? The 4 things that really everyone needs. And one of those is help. And one of those is very difficult for me. So asking for help is still really hard.
Yes.
It's really hard for me to say, I can't do all of this. And even if I can do it all, I don't have to do it all, right? It's hard for me to say, I could fit all these things in, but I would be exhausted and maybe angry and maybe impatient. And I don't have to go there. I can ask someone to help me. I can say no. I can set boundaries. I can do all of these things. And it doesn't say anything about me. It doesn't say I can't do it. It doesn't say that I am not good enough. It doesn't say that I'm not a good mom, or I'm not a good employee, or I'm not a good executive leader, or I'm not a good anything. It just says that I know where my important boundaries are and I'm willing to set them. And so that has been a struggle for me for many years. And it still is. I would say probably every day there are places where I have to say, no, that is not a big yes for you. You have to stop and you have to say no to this.
How do you see that play out at work? I'm just curious, because one of my go-tos at work is yes, 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 because it's work and I'm being paid. So how do you do that? And how is it responded to by the people around you?
So that is a hilariously timed question because I literally had a meeting yesterday with my leader, right? And he said, how are you with setting boundaries right now? His exact question to me, how are you with setting boundaries right now? Because he knows that is a struggle for me. I will say yes to all of the things. And I usually am saying yes to things that are awesome, right? I'm not saying yes to things that I hate. I'm not saying yes to do like a terrible project. I'm saying yes because it sounds amazing.
Yes.
But I can't do everything. And so it's very hard for me. One of my go-tos is I can't do that right now. I may have time in the future. I may have time in 3 weeks, if I'm looking at a schedule. And so that's often a softer way of saying no for me because maybe it's something they need right now, or maybe they really want me to be part of it and they're willing to wait. And maybe that's okay too. So it really, that has been, if I know it's something that is super awesome, but it's just not going to fit in my schedule right now, to kind of put it off. Yeah.
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah.
Because the title's kind of like, I love it. And then part of it originally I read the wrong way. So I want to clarify that for anybody. So the Supermom idea, because we feel like there is this Supermom, kind of this Pinterest worthy, Instagram worthy mom. But when you're talking about Supermom in this book, it really is just being your best self and setting up your life in a way so that you can be your best self. The goal is not to be the ultimate mother that's doing all these amazing things for your children. So just in case,
you're saying the best thing, because for me, I want an amazing career, right? I love working. I love having a career. I love working with brilliant people. It is an absolute joy for me. But guess what? I love making crafts with my kids and making dinner with them and hanging out with them just for fun and watching movies. I love that too. I want all of that. And I want to feel present and happy in both. And I feel like in order to do that, you have to know how to be a super mom. And that is really being a super mom, not throwing elaborate parties or being perfect on the outside and crumbling on the inside.
Yeah. It's just knowing your priorities,
great point.
Setting those boundaries, enforcing those boundaries. I mean, so I just wanted to clarify that for anybody else who's like, is this going to be something about making, the best cupcakes? No, it is very much of so many. If you like the lessons and the philosophy that we talk about here on the podcast, it's reinforcing a lot of those habits and a lot of those thought patterns. So just wanted to clarify that in case anybody else, I just had that, I don't know why, I just had that original trigger and then I was like, oh, no, this is exactly everything that we believe in. But that Supermom thing always is this idea of not saying no. It's, that's what my original conception of the word was. It meant that you do all the volunteering. You do say all the yeses. You don't say no.
You do not sleep.
Yeah, right. It's true.
I'm glad you addressed it on a work front, because we're doing that for things that you don't even get paid for. It is a whole different element of pressure when, yes, you are getting paid for it. So I love that whether you're getting paid for it or whether it's volunteer or something that you're doing for your kids, I like that idea of like, I can't do that right now. I mean, that covers the base for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we taught our children to say, I don't know how to do that yet. The growth mindset type stuff that they really worked on in their elementary school, which I love. So instead of I can't tie my shoes, it's I'm learning. I don't know how to tie my shoes yet. So it's that same concept of I can't do that right now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no, but I'm saying not now. And if someone else comes up that can do it sooner, fine.
Yeah. That's great. Well, that kind of leads into you had really great stuff around time management. And that is, and we've kind of brought up this idea of, we've spent a lot of episodes talking about who we are, value setting or whatever. But I do think that the two areas tie into each other. Like, you need to know what you're managing. like we talked about the idea of organizing your refrigerator when it's full of moldy food. It doesn't make any sense to reorganize and have a beautifully stacked refrigerator full of spoiled food. where, and same thing, you can have a beautifully managed, Trello board of things that are not getting you to where you want to be in life. So we love tying in those two pieces of like knowing what you really want and then figuring out how to make that work into your life. And part of it is you need to get the time management to even be able to think about what are the things that you value. So it's a little bit of a, I don't know, and we're chasing our tails there, but especially as the world is opening up, I think that we are feeling it. A lot of our listeners are feeling it. We are a little rusty at setting those boundaries around invitations and the volunteer requests. So what do? You got to decide which things you want to say that I can't do that right now too. But like, is that a gut thing? Do you have like a 3-step checklist that you go through in your head to be like, this is something that I want, should be doing, or this is something that doesn't make sense for me right now? What are your strategies for thinking around those decisions?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. So one, as things start to open back up and we start to have all of these options, right? We've got so many options for things that are coming back. But I think we went from moving at 100 miles an hour to nothing, right? Everything went away. And we have this beautiful moment where we can pause and say, what did I really miss? And what didn't I miss at all? What was something that left my plate and I literally never thought about it again? Maybe because it wasn't fun, because it wasn't lighting me up, because it wasn't getting me towards goals. Maybe there were people that were part of it that we didn't love, right? And then what were the things that, wow, I missed that so much. All I wanted to do was, go back to the office, or all I wanted to do was go back and have church in person, or all I wanted to do was be part of this group. And those are the things we want to add back in. But those other things, we've got to take that really intentional thought and say, did I actually miss this? Do I actually want to put this back in my life? Because if nothing else, if the pandemic does nothing else for us, let it be a light to say, here's what was really great about my life. And here's what wasn't so great. And what I don't have to go back to, because I didn't do it for a year and a half and I don't have to go back. So I think that is sort of a beautiful moment that we have that we can take advantage of. But there are two questions I also like to ask for this kind of, I have to, right? I have to go back to the office. I have to volunteer for the kids' classroom because I always did it before. I have to, whatever. My first question is, do you? As in, do you really have to? Does it have to be you? Does it have to be done at all? Do you have to do this? Because the answer almost always is no. Now, if you're getting paid for something and you've been hired for that job, then yes, you have to do that if you'd like to keep your job, right? You have to do that. Do you have to feed your kids? Yes. But do you have to make a gourmet meal every night? No, you do not have to do that, right? So do you have to? And then the other question that I like to flip around is, if you've decided that, you probably do have to, do you actually get to? So do I get to take my kids to school every single day and pick them up every single day? Because that's what I get to do right now. And some days that's really hard to work meetings around, but I sure also love it, right? I love that I have that privilege of being able to do that, because that will go away. And I know that it's going to go away for me in the blink of an eye, right? They're going to grow very fast and I will never do that again. And so changing that mindset around and saying, do I actually get to do this? And it's not about have to at all. Making food for my kids I like to cook, but I know lots of moms don't. But you get to make amazing meals for them, or minimal, simple, easy meals for them, right?
Get to keep them alive with basic nutrition.
Yes. I get to serve my children. But just, I think that those two questions really get to the root of most of it and really help you decide what needs to stay and what can go.
I love the idea of get to, and I've been employing that. Actually, it wasn't quite in those terms, and I can't remember who we interviewed who talked about this.
I think it was around gratitude.
I think it was around gratitude. So maybe Nancy Davis Co. But that idea, when I tend to wake up in the morning and think, this is what I have to do today, kind of mentally go over that checklist, but in a have to, I have to get this done, this done, this done. And seriously, on a day that I can wake up and say, I get to go do these things today, or I get to vacuum the floors today. I mean, it sounds a little Pollyanna, but it does work. Like my body works, my brain works. I get to go use that and do all of these things. I feel
Hey,
like
and
a
my
different
vacuum
person.
did break a couple weeks ago. And hey, hats off to Dyson. They sent me a new rotor head for it. But I really, when I vacuumed that first time after we got it, I was like,
You're like,
I get
I get
to
to vacuum.
vacuum today.
and well,
I
and
mean,
I
My
hate cleaning
Dyson
house, but
broke too.
oh, well, you apparently you're getting a new one.
Yeah.
Sounds like,
Yeah, they're
they've
sending
got
us a new
very good
part.
customer
Yep.
service.
Yeah.
I think I love to have a clean house, but I hate actually cleaning it. So in my mind, it's I get to have a clean house today. And there's just a path that has to happen for me to get there. But at the end of the day, I know I'm going to be looking at a clean kitchen and clean bathrooms and everything put where it's supposed to go. Oh, it does. It feels so good. So yeah, if we get to, I think, and I love that it was brought up by someone who was talking about gratitude, because I think that's the perfect way to frame gratitude, right?
Yes. Okay, so now we're talking about the things that we're going to fit into the calendar. I am like a day planner addict, except for I never find one that is like perfect. But I will die trying. Like I love them so much. There's nowhere happier for me than like a stationery store with all the day planners. And there's
God,
so much
paper.
hope and potential there for me to just get my together, but somehow
pretty pins and pretty books. I think I'm going to rule the world with them.
I know.
And every time I buy one, I'm like, oh, this Hibichi no techno planner is going to be the one or whatever it is. And I get close. I got to tell you, my Post-it solution that I thought was so great, Missy, not working for me right now. So yeah. But anyway, I love to hear what people who really seem to have things together are doing. Like, what is your favorite way of making that time and space to actually do the things that are on your calendar and keeping all that organized?
Oh, it's such a great question. And you guys are going to hate some of my answers. So one of my answers, I know you'll hate it. One of my answers is I wake up at 4 a.m. every day.
Okay. It's been nice talking to you.
Yeah. So I don't think you have to do that, but my most energized time, my most clear time, and my time that I know I will have at least an hour before any other human that needs me in this house wakes up is 4 a.m. So that is why I chose that. It has gotten earlier and earlier as I've gotten older and as my kids have grown, but that's one of the things. So I plan my day during that window of time. And I love that. And I totally get it. If you are like, I hate you, I'm not ever going to do that. So I totally get it. But planning your day, having a time where you're filled with energy to be able to go over your day or your whole week, if you want to do that. I look at that on Sundays, but you could do it either way. But my things that I do, I use a daily planner that's a paper, like an actual book, paper planner. And then we also have a shared digital calendar. It is through Cozy, if you are familiar with the app Cozy. And my husband enters in there. My oldest kiddo has access to it now, and they will continue to get access as they get older and get phones. And of course, I have access. And then my husband built a digital board that goes in our kitchen, and that app displays on that board. So everyone,
we need a picture of that.
I'll send you a picture. It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Anytime anybody comes here, they're very jealous. It's super cool. So that is how we stay organized. And as a family, everyone knows what's happening because they're looking at that kitchen board and they can see what's happening any day. Everyone's assignments are on there. Everyone's tasks, we can do meal plans on there. We have weather on there. All the things.
Looking at our faces.
I know.
It's the coolest. So
cool.
So that digital paper combination with having something visible to our whole family, that kind of trifecta is a win for me. I mean, it just works.
Okay. So I'm going to get kind of nuts and bolts here. So you're talking about sitting down and planning your day. So you get up at 4 o'clock and do that. Like, does that take from 4 to 6? Like how much, how much time do you spend actually being like, this is what I'm going to do today?
I spend probably 30 minutes on Sunday planning the whole week. So it only takes me like 10 minutes per day to just go through all the tasks. And I mean, I go through all the things on the list. So do I need to get meat out for dinner? Is there anything I need to prep for a meeting that's later? Do I have an interview today? What do I have to wear today based on what I have coming up? Right. I do a workout routine in the morning on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that comes after that planning time. And yeah, so it's fairly fast day to day because of that Sunday planning time.
Got it. Okay.
So I have to know what time you go to bed at night.
Ooh, I like to get in bed after the children are in bed. We put them to bed at 8:30. And so I like to be in bed by 9 and asleep by 9:30 if I can make it happen.
Wow. Okay.
I
Well, then
mean,
the 4
goals.
o'clock makes sense then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
aspire to be a morning person. I
Maybe
don't know
not
if I can
midnight
change that.
anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
so that's the, yes, because so here's my thing. And I know some of you can relate because I've talked to moms that, you know, are thinking about this, is that they try to stay up late.
Yes, it's that revenge time.
Well, they're
Revenge
not
time.
actually like, they're not really night people, right? They're not spending those. So let's say you put your kids to bed at 9. They're not spending those next 3 hours writing a book, working on their planning, doing an exercise routine, doing yoga. They're not doing any of those things. Most of them are scrolling, watching TV,
Yes.
doing downtime activities, but not really activities that are building them up and giving them that energy that they really need. And then
Right.
in the morning, when you wake up with your kids, now where are you spending your energy? That's the me time. You're not, you've lost it now.
Panic.
So
Yeah.
without finding that time, it doesn't have to be at 4 a.m., but it's got to be somewhere, then you kind of feel like you never got to it. And so you're
Yeah.
always trying to scramble. And I think
Yes.
that, you know, moms struggle with that for sure.
There was that amazing article about how that is, I think they call it revenge time, where women are staying up super late at night because somewhere in our brains we think that this is for me. This is my time, and even if it has zero value, I'm claiming it.
Yes, I think I saw like a little meme on that they,
Mhm.
you know, they were like falling asleep so exhausted, but I must stay up 20 minutes longer. And I, you know, I'm why? Just go to bed. Get some sleep.
Yes, I know.
Have a
I need
happy
to find a
mom.
happy medium because, yeah,
Yeah.
I am
Yes.
kind of a late nighter, and we've got a 16-year-old who she goes to bed later than we do. And so
Yep.
it's kind of, we've lost that flow of the kids go to bed and then we do our night.
Yes.
And so now it's just
Yes.
like, it's just, there's always someone up.
I
And
have
we
a friend who
literally,
says her kids tuck her in.
yes.
And
Right.
it's kind of, and she's, you know, much older teenagers, but yeah, we have a 15-year-old in the house now. And if he
Yes.
has practice and homework and wants to eat dinner and wants some downtime of his own, we have limits on that, but still sometimes his limits are later than our limits.
Yeah, that ends up being super late. And the latest I pick up any children is probably 8:30 for any activities that we do. So that's, you know, of course, a little bit later night for me and
Night,
for them.
yeah.
But, you know, I don't have anybody that has practice till 10 p.m. We're not there yet. We're not in that stage yet.
Yeah.
So I imagine my life will continue to kind of, you know, circle
Evolve.
as those ages come.
And you can
Yeah,
get
I feel like-
strategic about using that time, you know, when you're waiting in the car, that could be your planning time. It's just a matter of claiming that time and being strategic with it instead of
Yeah. Are
scroll,
you saying
scroll,
TikTok is not a good use of that time?
Do you,
That's when
my-
I TikTok is when I sit in the car. That's when I go down the scroll hole because I'm waiting to pick somebody up. And I
Zoe
post.
came down this morning to breakfast and was like, I'm taking a break from TikTok again. She's just like done. So when a 16-year-old is like done with TikTok, and I was like, why? Like I'm almost like trying to talk her back into it. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, my husband took it off his phone, and I was like, "What? You did? Don't you like it? Isn't it fun?" And you know, he's going. It's a time suck because he can't control when he does that. You know, he realized that his self-control was not there, and all of a sudden he'd go, "Oh, I have a meeting, and I'm watching." And he was also getting some content that was questionable.
Oh.
It's like, I've never gotten that content.
And I don't want to break any copyright laws or anything here, so I'm not going to show the full page. I'll just show a little bit of it. But there is this great grid in the Secrets of Supermom book about the terrible time wasters, and it's like a bingo card. And Missy and I were saying we both had a full blackout. So, task jumping, oh my God, so guilty. Procrastination, lack of routine, Facebook. I mean, yeah, trying to multitask. LinkedIn. It's so funny you think of LinkedIn as productive. Some days it does become my new Facebook, because the people that we are talking to with career coaches and around careers, obviously LinkedIn is our little place of choice for getting to know really interesting people there. So
well, and there are so many great articles, but after you read 4 great articles in a row, you're going, wow, I just wasted 25 minutes, maybe not wasted, but didn't spend that 25 minutes the way I probably meant to spend the 25 minutes.
And I love how you said that, is because it's not necessarily wasted.
Right.
Like if you had a time scheduled in your week for this is when I am going to do my reading and this is when I'm going to do my research, then great. That article is then purposeful, intentional. But yeah, if it's blocking out all the things that you meant to do that particular day, it just has a way of throwing everything out of whack. So
do you have tips for changing that mindset? And maybe I'm the only one who does this, but
I doubt it.
If I block out time to say, this is going to be my reading time, and I save articles or I have my books that I want to get to, there's something inside of me that thinks, well, what if that time doesn't come? Or what if by then it's too late to read this article that I really should read it today? Or what if I miss a chance to post on Mom and about it or something? It gets in my head that I really should just stop everything and read it right now. Or Suzanne and I send each other stuff all the time. I should make a file of that and read those things and then figure out what needs to be posted, but I don't. I'm just doing it as it comes. So how can I break that?
Yeah,
I don't think I'm alone.
I think no. I think no. I don't think so either. I think as it comes, we do think as we come because we feel like it's going to go away, right? We feel like, or I might forget that. And so getting into, I think really sometimes it's just a bad habit, right? A habit of me saying, I get this and I do it right away, instead of changing that habit to say, I get this and I write it down, or I get this and I save it in a folder. My process is I get this and then I do something else, not that cue is must be read right now. I must read you, I'm going to be lost if I don't. And so it really, I think, is noticing it, right? That's always our first thing, is noticing what we're doing that's maybe not working. And then saying, what do I do now? What could I change that behavior, that routine? If you think about habit research, cue, and then routine, we've got this cue, we've got that trigger, and then what's the routine I'm going to do? So is it going to be save it in a folder? Is it going to be flag it in my email? Is it going to be, write it down on a little list that I have, like a little Post-it note, right? However we do it the best, I think that's a good way to just start and say, I don't have to do this right now. Because so many things, think about the times when you've got a text message and an email and all of it feels like it should be done right now. Well, it can't.
All day, every day.
Yeah, it can't. You have to be able to say, no, I check email from this time to this time, or I do certain tasks, and I know that not everybody has that capability. Certain people have jobs that are far more urgent than others, right? But you definitely have at least some time in your day that is flexible to you that you can use. So I think that those are some good tips.
I fully just had my stomach flip moment. I have one almost every episode where I'm like, ooh,
I'm doing that.
Speaking to me. That's speaking to me. I mean, I'm sure I've talked about it on a number of episodes, but it is a real struggle of mine. I'm not great at time blocking. I'm great at getting a ton of crap done in the day, but not in a way that leaves me feeling peaceful.
Yeah.
And I want to feel peaceful, and I want to not always be scared I'm dropping a ball or all the balls.
And is it the right stuff even? Like, do you get to the end of the day? I mean, I have these days all the time. I get to the end of the day and I maybe finished 47 tasks, but one was moving the needle anywhere, right? Moving the needle in my job or with my family or in working on my authorship and the kind of all of those things that go along with it. It maybe was one thing. And it was really just a lot of stuff that could have been done tomorrow, could have been done earlier, just so making sure that those are the right things, because sometimes we want to be busy and not necessarily productive in the right ways.
Yes.
Oh,
that gets you.
I think we just found your quote meme for previewing the episode. I love that.
Yeah. That is amazing.
Okay.
You look like you had a question, Suzanne.
No, I could go on forever. I could, but
too.
I know. I'm just making
what
sure.
Time is it?
I know we got to be respectful of time, but I know
I have no idea what time it is.
You had some questions around rest, right?
I do.
We love your whole chapter dedicated to rest.
On rest.
That's why we give it a hug.
Seriously, rest is a thing I've been obsessed with lately, because I have talked about this before too. I've always been a pretty good rester. I listen to my body. I know when I need rest and I do it, and I'm making progress on not feeling guilty about it, but I'm not there yet. So how do you talk to moms, especially who are thinking, I have to stay up all night. I have to get up at 4 a.m. and I have to go to bed at midnight and I have to do all of these things. And if I take a nap, I'm a bad mom. How do we work around that guilt and take care of ourselves?
Well, one, I love, if you're struggling with rest, I love making a list of things that are restful to you because they're not the same for everybody, right?
No.
So you're saying, Missy, that you don't struggle with knowing what those things are. You're willing to do them. You just feel guilty when you do actually do them, right?
Yes.
And so I think with guilt, I think that everything comes back to being intentional and being aware to me. So for whatever it is doing it things on purpose and paying attention. So for example, I like to use the example because of this is something that made a giant difference for me is I changed my eating habits in 2017, I think, or maybe it was 2016. I went back to work. Oh yeah, 2016. I went back to work when my youngest was born. And I went back to work with all the children. I never took much time off, but I had heard about the Whole30 and I had heard that diet would help with all sorts of things, not weight loss. It wasn't about weight loss. Yeah. It was really about being a supermom. Health. And I called it that. It was about being more patient, being more energized, being all of these extra things. So by doing this Whole30 and really paying attention to how that food impacted me, I saw, wow, I am way more energized. I am way more patient. And so being able to do it intentionally and see those things happen, I said, this is a way of eating for me. Now I can't be perfect and I never will, but it's a way of eating that I have been able to very easily see is working. So with the same idea, rest, when you take a nap, then when your kids wake up, I'm willing to bet you're more patient with them. You're calmer in general. You feel better. You are maybe more excited to help with homework or more excited to do dinner or more excited to drive them to 75 million places that night. And so that feeling, they get that too, right? They can tell when you're stressed and yucky. They might even ask you, why are you so stressed? Why are you in a bad mood? You know, what's going on? And so knowing that by being intentional, you can see that rest working for you, that rest making you better, making you a better mom, making you just everything that you want to be. And so it is a lot harder to be guilty if you know what it's going to give you. So that I think is a really nice way to get out of that guilt cycle.
It is. It goes back to knowing your why. You know your why for what you're doing in your volunteer work, your career, your family, like know your why. And if my why is that I don't want to hurt people in the afternoon, then maybe I need to rest.
No screaming bloody murder with your face. No.
And I do have a child who will say, how'd you sleep last night, Mom? They know.
Interesting. They don't miss anything.
They don't miss a thing. And of course I want to be like, I slept fine. What do you mean? They know. They know.
Yeah. They'll be like, did you have a bad day at work? What happened? Who was on the phone? Right? Like they know that something is not right. And so, they can see it in your face. They can feel it in your energy when you're driving the car, like hands, you know? So I think when you rest right and you get what you need, you know it, and you can tell it in all the other areas.
Yeah,
that is so true.
And I think the same message that you're just saying about rest applies to a lot of the things in your book. And this idea of supermom, again, not being the supermom to everybody else. This is about being a supermom for you. And then because of that, you're able to be part of everybody else's life in a much more pleasant and whole way.
A contributing member of society.
Yeah. Yes. Everybody gets that benefit, right? If you're more amazing inside, everybody benefits by that. Your kids do, your partner does, your coworkers do. You know, if you're an amazing leader and you feel amazing, you're going to be better at the people that you are supporting. You're going to be better at the people that you report to. You're going to just, I feel like it is this overflow that just overflows to all of it. So
yes. Love it so much. So yes, Secrets of Supermom. Yeah, we're going to have off the record part 2 where you tell us how you wrote a book in just a little over a month. That's crazy.
Seriously, it's so inspiring to me because it is a matter of looking at everything you've got going on and planning appropriately. And that's why I think that kind of talk makes my stomach flip, because it's calling me out. I know what I'm not doing. I know what I need to do. Let's go do the
we know it's in there. We just, are we going to let it like hide, or are we going to bring it out and say, all right, this is what's happening. I'm going to address it and I'm going to fix it, or not fix it, or say, I'm not fixing you. And,
right. I don't
turning
have to do
around
that.
and saying goodbye to whatever it is.
Oh, and that's what the whole podcast is about. So we hope that there was a lot more tummy flipping out there for listeners too. The same stuff that Missy and I've been like, yep. We're going to
highly recommend the book.
Yes. And I hate to do it a disservice. I mean, it's incredible to say that you wrote it in a little over a month, but this is not a book that you're like, oh yes, clearly someone only took a month to write this.
Right. That's why we were blown away.
Yeah. It is packed full of great information. And I think a lot of that does come from, I mean, obviously very successful in your career, but also your past experience that you said in family counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's just a lot of different levels that come together, and understanding what raising 4 humans can be like and what needs to happen in order to pull that together. So do you do any book events or anything, or any talks around it? Or are you primarily doing a pharmaceutical job?
So I do. I have a podcast. So I talk about the book in the podcast. And then I've done some kind of smaller events. We weren't really, everything was still pretty locked down when the book first came out. So no book tour or anything like that. But certainly I've done, individual, if folks are thinking, oh, I would love to have her come speak, totally happy to do that. So you can reach out to me on Instagram or on my website. And I love doing that, because it's really fun to get real questions from real moms that are really struggling and be able to work through that in small groups and that sort of thing. So really fun stuff.
Yeah. And also can't recommend the podcast enough. So where is the best way for people then to find you and to find the podcast? I'm assuming at your website, but
website, secretsofsupermom.com is really where everything is. It's where the podcast links are, all of my social media. You can get the book there if you want to grab the book. And so, that's the best place for me.
Awesome. We'll put it all in our show notes as well.
All right. So we are going to kick off the Look, Listen, Learn segment, where it's just a little opportunity for listeners get to know you outside of your professional life and to enhance all our ... after mom. So they can be silly or useful or useless, or it can be something that's cutting edge and trending, or as my Sopranos viewing habit, decades old. So Lori, would you like to kick off? You can do look, listen, or learn, or all three.
Okay, so look, I am always reading a book. Always. My goal this year was 50 books. I'm on track to get to 50. I'm not there yet.
Wow.
But right now I'm reading Take Back Your Time by Christy Wright. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I don't know that one.
But it's really talking about work-life balance in kind of a different way. And obviously I love to learn about this kind of stuff because I think it's so important. It's so important for moms. And I think it's important for women. And so I'm excited to get more into that book. I'm only, 30 pages in or so, but I'm liking it so far. So ready to finish that one up and then, move on to my next one. I love reading. Listening. So my most binge listened to podcast, I think, is Crush the Rush by Holly Haynes. She works full time, has twins, and then runs a business on the side, runs a coaching business on the side. So she's doing all of this at the same time. And it's kind of mind-boggling, but her podcast episodes are short and actionable, and it's really just good stuff because that's kind of what I'm doing too. Right. So learning from her has been cool. And then learning, I am in a mastermind. So I am doing a retreat this week. We have not started, but it's going to be soon. And so that's my next big learning. I'm excited about that. I love retreats and workshops, and all of that stuff is it's so fun to work with other women. It's so fun to just learn a lot, but also be able to apply it right after. And so I love that kind of stuff too.
Oh, does it have like a central theme?
Yes, this one's a content theme. So kind of using your content in the best way. So for me, my content's my book, right? So how can I take a chapter of my book and use it in a whole bunch of different ways and help people in a whole bunch of different ways using the same kind of central theme. So I'm excited for that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't wait to see what comes out of that for you.
Yeah, me too. And I'm hoping it's about being efficient with it as well. Right. Yes. Being able to take a lot of things to a lot of places, but not require a lot of time, because we're all, lacking that, I suppose.
All right. And what about you, Missy? Good luck following that up.
No kidding. Am I not quite that good? Okay. So after we talked about time sucks, I'm going to talk about TikTok. So have either of you seen Noodle the Pug on TikTok? Have you come across this yet?
I don't do the TikTok
Okay.
unless you
Yeah,
send
you
it
don't
to
really do it.
me.
Okay, so not long ago, it was the first time I ever saw this during my sit in the car scroll time. And he's this old pug. And every day his owner goes to say, do we have bones or no bones? Is it a bones day or a no bones day? And he'll pick the pug up and the pug either stands and that's a bones day, or it like flops back down on its bed and it's a no bones day. And it has become like, it's just infiltrated its way into the TikTok land. It's crazy how things do that on that app. But so all these other people are making posts about how, well, they can't go into work because it's a no bones day, and singing songs about what kind of bones day they're having. I was thinking about it when we were talking today, that we all have no bones days some days, and we need a strategy for that. Noodle the pug needs no strategy, obviously, but we need to know what to do on the days we wake up without bones. And I love thinking of it like that. It just kills me. So that's my look this week, is that I have been looking at the TikTok, and everything that pops up in my feed has some sort of bones reference, and it just kills me.
Now I gotta
TikTok
go check
knows
it
how
out.
much you love it, and now
I
they're
know.
going to feed you everything that you want.
Which is, I mean, it's a sneaky algorithm. They
it
have,
is.
Oh,
You don't even need to
it
click
kills
on
me.
anything. You just look at it and it knows.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm sure now I've
to
talked about it.
I told my kids to get off mine. I was like, you're going to mess with my algorithm. I don't want to see what you want to see. Get off my TikTok.
Yeah. I don't want to see the dances or kids doing pranks or trick skateboard things. I don't want to see that.
No,
yes,
exactly.
You want to see
Fine
a
for
dog
somebody, not for
flopping
me.
down.
Yeah. I want to see Noodle in his bones.
I love Noodle the pug. That just like, it seems so like pugs
So
are not
cute.
noodles.
No. And when he flops down, I mean, he just sometimes goes face first into the edge of his bed. Like he's just like,
oh my gosh. We are
Get it.
all you, Noodle.
Yeah, I feel you, Noodle. Like I relate. So, and I've been listening to, I feel so basic, but I've been listening to Adele's new song, Easy on Me. Have y'all listened to it? I love Adele. And, you know, most of her songs are breakup-y, relationship-y. And though, of course, I had some sad breakups in my life, I've been fairly fortunate, and I have been married a really long time. So it's not like I feel like she's singing for me, but everything, a lot of her songs, I should say, I can put in terms of my own life. So it's transition time, making changes, having to let go of something old to do something new. Mm-hmm. And so I have been loving that one. And then just going through my Adele library and having very emotive belting it out sessions. So sorry for my neighbors, because I can't sing. Can't sing at all.
That's my favorite. Belting at the top of your lungs. Oh, the best.
It feels so good.
So
and
good.
I get so much more done if I have music that's speaking to me on whatever level it is. Yes. And I've been trying to work on an updated playlist for the book I'm writing to go with my main character. I had one, but she's grown a little bit since the first draft and she's changed. And so I'm looking for songs that speak to me on that level. So that's been super fun too.
I'm going to interrupt here. Is that a book coach idea? Like, have you met with your book coach yet?
No, I haven't even sent in the paperwork. I know.
Okay.
Doing it, but I haven't done it.
I'm coming after you.
Yeah, but no, I've heard other people talk though about having a playlist.
Yeah,
and
way
back when I made a list of songs that were what I thought she was going to be, but she's not that anymore. So I'm having to update for this second draft, this long-awaited second draft.
Yay!
So I think, I'll leave it there. I'll say I have a couple other things, but I'll leave it there for this week.
All right.
What about you?
Okay. So I have been watching, and it's all done. We already binged it all. Midnight Mass. Have you ever heard of this?
I've heard of this.
It's on. Yeah, you don't hear these because you go do productive things. Poor Lori. She's like, you too. No wonder you're not getting anything done.
Yeah. Watching a pug all day long.
All day.
It's Midnight Mass. It's supernatural horror. It's on Netflix and it's on this isolated island, but it's like one of those East Coast like misty, cold islands, not like Hawaii, tropical island. And this community starts having all these like supernatural events. And there's a mysterious priest that arrives, and it's the homecoming of this guy who has been in prison after accidentally killing a woman in a car accident. And so he's coming home to live with his parents on the island, kind of with his tail between his legs.
Christy.
And it's super, like, I'm sure that a lot of the religious themes got lost on me since I'm the resident heathen. But as going through like an entire lifetime at St. Paul's Catholic Church, it was shocking how, like, just a note on the organ, I'd be like, I know that prayer. Like, I mean, I could do the full prayer. I knew all the moves. I was like, man, it's just
in there.
It's muscle memory. Talk about habits and, you know, association.
Yeah.
Like, I have not been in a church for 20 years, but boop, I could
Came right back.
I can do the whole. I could have been an altar boy if you made me, because I know all the moves. I know their moves. I know my moves. But yes, so that was just kind of interesting. But it depends what y'all are into. I thought it was pretty. It as for like supernatural horror, it was, but with the message, but with like, it had a little depth of character, a little more than, it wasn't just someone, you know, going around and being all stabby. There was some deep thoughts in there too. So
I think Netflix releases a horror show every year about this time. And is it the same? Like, do you know, is this the same guy? Like, there was The Haunting of Hill House.
It might be, because people were saying that the director is someone, they're like, oh, that director always gets me, you know, like leaves me, you know, with deep thoughts after it, instead of just being oh, I'm glad everybody got away. You know, it's more of a thinker once it's all done than just a bunch of people.
Right. It's not slasher type stuff.
Well, it gets kind of gross there, but do not watch while eating.
Oh, okay. I have to think about if I'm putting this on my list. Maybe.
Yes. Yeah. But it's interesting. I mean, it was interesting enough that like every night we'd be like, okay, let's go see what's happening over at, you know, Midnight Mass, when there's a lot of other shows that we give up. We usually give things like 2 episodes and then we're just like, man, this isn't worth it. There's too many things. So, so that, and then listening, I'm still listening to Cersei. And anybody who's been listening to past episodes is like, Suzanne, how long does it take you to listen to a book? I have read and listened to like 5 books in the course of trying to get past the 3rd chapter of Cersei, because I was really intimidated at first, because they started like rattling off this huge list of Greek gods and goddesses and mythology and stuff. And I was like, I don't know enough about any of these people to know what's going on. I don't recognize any of the names, but enough of our guests on the show have actually recommended this book that I was like, okay. I mean, I think it was Julie Lythcott-Haims. I'm like, seriously, she's not going to recommend a bad book. So, so I kept with it, and oh my gosh, it's this lovely story about a woman discovering herself and fully living as her most self. So, I mean, if anybody else is reading it and is like, oh my gosh, this is just a whole lot of,
going.
Yeah, because for a while it was just like, oh, am I going to need a chart to memorize all these names and who's son and who's, you know, having an affair with who, whatever. But now it's just a lovely lady on an island, you know, singing. She does a lot of singing, Missy, belting out the tunes on the island.
But
and
probably not hurting her neighbor's ears.
No. But anyway, so that has been, now that I'm into that is one of those. And I'm like, I'm usually like, podcast, but it takes a really good book to get me out of that mode. And like every time I've got my headphones on, I'm like, ooh, what's Cersei doing now? So it is very good. And then both Missy and I were at the Mom 2 virtual conference last week, and I'm still processing a lot of the stuff that we learned there. Oh my gosh, it just turned, every time I opened up the screen, it was so awesome. Nancy Davis Coe was there, KJ Del Antonio was there, and doing really great sessions on podcasting. And I mean, it's just all the people that got us to the point where we felt confident enough to come on. So we learned a lot from that, but it was very awesome to hear a lot of these amazing, smart women saying that we were at this national turning point where, you know, women truly are the unpaid social safety net of U.S. society. And because of COVID, the number of women in the workforce is now back to the number from 1989. Like, progress has just boop.
It crushes my soul. I hate hearing all of that. It just, it's
and
terrible.
and there's part of me, as being a stay-at-home mom, Missy and I talk about this, where I'm like, oh, it feels like I'm totally letting go of all my feminist principles. But there is part of it when you're making the choice to do it, where like, no, that is the ultimate feminist principle, to be able to make a choice that's best for you and your family.
Yeah.
But I cannot imagine that all those millions of women,
that was not a choice for so many people.
That was not a choice. So, as we talk about, I got my Smash the Patriarchy shirt on, and I don't think it's necessarily that a bunch of men said quit women, but it's very obvious that there's expectations
no infrastructure in place.
No, there's bad infrastructure, but there's just social norms that people and families and whatever just automatically go, well, one of us has to stay home and watch the kids. I guess it will be you. And maybe these conversations weren't had before in marriages, or maybe, they weren't had in the office place, but apparently we all defaulted in one particular direction, and that was sending women 20 years back in the workforce. So is that 20 years? I can't. No, my God.
No, it's so much longer than 20 years.
Oh my God. I'm old.
Would you say, was it last week? You said 10 years ago when we were in college? No. No.
Oh, I'm feeling so youthful today.
That's great that you feel so young.
I am. But, and the other thing, because I just want to end this on a super low note, is how much is tied to employment insurance, 401k, Social Security, and there's so much that is bound to employment. And then when there's no safety net besides women, saying, okay, I got to stay home and make sure the kids can do virtual school for a year. It's just, we need to do some work. And I was excited to see just how many really smart, amazing women are out there doing the work and coming to conferences and teaching the rest of us what we can do in our daily life to help fix it. So I'm very hopeful for the day. And Christy and Co. ended up with the idea that let's get to a place where women, anyone, can focus on what they want out of life, not just what they feel they should or need to be doing. And I had all kinds of other stuff I was going to talk about. Christine Coe's great advice for how to decide whether you should spend time with someone. And I'm going to put that, maybe we'll make a little bonus thing out of that.
I think we should.
It's a little lengthy and we've already gone a couple minutes over. But Christine Coe has the Edit Your Life podcast, and we just love her. And she's on a roll with some really amazing articles. I think she does usually Boston Globe and Washington Post.
She's had some in the Post,
Yeah. So we'll do a little Christine Coe devotional. we'll share some information about her, and then also these amazing tips that she had in her session about how to decide whether or not to say yes, to keep that boundary up, for if someone asks you to go have dinner and you're trying to decide, is this worth my time? So we're going to end it with a teaser then.
There you go.
Yes. It's a high note and a teaser.
I'm so inspired to go dig more deeply into the secrets of Supermom.
Oh, I know. I seriously am going to make a copy of this page and print it out and put it not just at my computer, like in my car, in my whatever. I should just, where I don't want to show you all my driver's license, but I need to put it here, which is on the other side of my phone.
Yeah.
So that when I open up my phone, it's like a little message. I used to have a message over here. My screensaver was write your book. But then it gets covered by all the little notices. I'm like, well, I can't write my book because I got a Twitter thing I need to look at. So I need to put it on the other side.
But that graphic is a good reminder. Like if you just look at it and think, I don't want to fill those squares today.
Yeah.
Like how do I not fill those squares?
And this book is full of great ways to not fill those squares, or to be very intentional the way that you fill your day. And I'm just so excited about it. I can't wait to hear more about it and have discussions about it in the group and put some of these lessons into place in my life. I know some of them have been there at one point or another and they need a little refresh. So good reminder. But Lori, we're so excited to have had the opportunity to talk with you and get to know you a little better. And so just want to tell everybody to go to your podcast. All this information that you got here today, you can get like on a regular basis and get a lot deeper dive as well. So make sure, can we get your URL again, just as a reminder?
Absolutely. secretsofsupermom.com. And that's where it all is.
Terrific.
Such a pleasure, ladies. So fun. You guys are so great.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
So nice to meet you.
Really appreciate you spending time with us today.
Yeah, we're happy to be one of your blocks.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us for the Mom and ... podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show today. And if you know someone else who could benefit from today's episode, be sure to share it with them. Also, please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find links to all the things we discussed today in the show notes over at our website, momandpodcast.com, with the AND spelled out. In between shows, you can find us at the socials, including our private Mom and Community Facebook group. You can find links to the group, all of our socials, and our questions and comments section over at our website, momandpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you so much. Now go out there and make your ellipses count.